The difference between me and a lot of people is I am very proactive. Once we decide what to do, either get on board or get out of the way. Marion and the Klipsch Educators College has really achieved high levels of success. And so those students that graduate from Marion and go to schools literally are trained to utilize technology, and they're on a path to where they can get better. If technology is not part of the plan, you cannot succeed. In 1980, the United States was #1 in the world in education delivery. Now in math and English, we're somewhere in the high 30s. Compared to every other country in the world, we spend more money and get less results. Education facilitated me beyond belief. I mean, I'm a product of the American dream. Without education, none of that would have been possible. In the Air Force, there was a lieutenant colonel of consequence that took me under his wing, and I was making presentations to a one-star general at 23 years old. And those are the kind of experiences you don't get till you're 30 or 40. And part of that was because I had shown the extra effort to go get a master's degree, literally in a year and a half at night. And all that facilitated each of the career steps that I have in my career. I formed School Choice Indiana after Choice Charitable Trust to start the process of putting legislation in place that would improve education. And the first step was to go after choice. That's now effectively done. Now the next step is to go after individualized education. Getting involved with Choice Charitable Trust back in the mid-90s, we were raising $10 or $20 million in private donations and giving it out as scholarships for children that needed to go to private schools. After doing that for 3 or 4 years, I reached the conclusion that it was great what we did for the kids that got the scholarships, but what about all the kids left in failing schools in Indiana? And that was the motivating start to forming School Choice Indiana and the other organizations that I formed over the next 2 decades. If you think about education reform as one track of topics to talk about, another track of topics is political. We formed the Phoenix Group in 2002. Mitch Daniels was elected in 2004 as a Republican governor. After him, Mike Pence. After him, Eric Holcomb. And now the current governor. The Republican governors, 4 now, have been a big part of what we did politically in order to get the education legislation passed that we got passed. Bob Grand, Jim Kittle, obviously for the Phoenix Group, were vital. There were 3 other people that were involved, but they were employees of the organization. He was actually working for Governor Daniels, helping raise money, and he's been involved with Ed Choice, Robert Enlow's organization. I've been chairman of that for over a decade. So he's one of the many players that are involved with the success we've had in education reform, beyond the 3 of us, Jim, Bob, and me. Tony Bennett would be one, big time in terms of what we got done with Tony under Mitch Daniels as governor. Todd Houston, absolutely. And Todd, since then, now as Speaker of the House, is a real champion for education, for what's happening in Indiana. The reality is, from the mid-90s until 2011, when the choice legislation was passed, and then this last year, when that choice legislation is now available to every family in Indiana. I think 98% of all families are eligible to choose which school their children will go to and move the money with them to that school. That solved a specific problem, but it doesn't solve the problem the United States has with a failed education delivery system. All choice does is take children out of failing schools and put them in a better school. It does not change at all how we approach educating our children. I can't think of any industry but education that does not use technology to maximize the value of whatever the service is and the skills that they're supposed to have. We need to use technology to support individualized education. There shouldn't be 30 kids of different skills and different abilities all sitting in the same room trying to be educated at the same time by one teacher. That system's over 100 years old and it has failed. Universities are not doing a good job of training teachers in general across the board. We do, because that was our goal 8 or 9 years ago, and we've achieved. Marion and the Klipsch Educators College has really achieved high levels of success. And so those students that graduate from Marion and go to schools literally are trained to utilize technology, and they're on a path to where they can get better. If technology is not part of the plan, you cannot succeed. You will absolutely fail beyond the shadow of a doubt. And so at this stage, the next steps are all about getting a group of schools to utilize technology and become examples of how education should be delivered. And I'd like to see that done under the leadership of the Klipsch Educators College at Marion University.